This is Willie. Started to take my engine apart so I can clean the oil leaks. Took a little bit of a brass brush and cleaned some of the junk that was in here. And I just grabbed that and tried moving it up and down. It doesn't move all that much. I don't think there'll be any problems in here because there's no signs of any leaks. So I'm going to replace this seal while I'm in here anyway. The other seal on the other side of this is leaking. Another thing I did while I was in here is I started spinning this by hand. Like I'm putting a good amount of torque on that. I don't know if you can see that bouncing back. But I'm just looking for some blow-by or leak down test, which this one's, I'm just past top dead center on the number 2 cylinder. This one's quite a bit better. This one's bouncing back pretty good versus the other side, which would be this side. Isn't really bouncing back quite as nice, but not bad enough that warrants taking the head off, so I'm just going to leave that be. It's just leaking a little bit out the valves. This thing has close to 500 hours on it, so I think it'll be fine for another 500. Then we'll do some head work on it. I'm going to leave this gasket alone, so I'm just going to take the valve covers off and check the valve lash, take all the panels off and clean all the dust off of it. So that's how far I got so far. So when I get her all cleaned up, I'll tune you in. Actually, no, I might show the valve lash on that. We'll see how bad it is. Cover off. Haven't cleaned it yet. And just want to go over something quick that gets commonly mistaken. Is on the intakes, the aluminum valve is actually on the intake. But on the vanguards, the aluminum is actually on the exhaust. Don't know why they do it that way, but this engine's never been taken apart because it doesn't have that many hours on it. And I've taken other vanguards apart and they're all exactly the same. The aluminum rod is on the exhaust side. And the decompression is also on the exhaust side. Looked up the specs, and the specs are 5 thousandths clearance for the valves. They're a little bit loose, so I tightened them up a little bit. This one was about 7, this one was about 6. So adjusted those, just so I'd clear that up. And I took the clean rag over here and cleaned the surface over here, make sure it was all dry and there's no dirt on these threads for when I put the valve cover back on. I still have to clean it all off. So, continuing on, getting there. These are all the parts that have been cleaned up so far. In fact, while I got you here, I was kind of surprised that this still has the black paint on the inside and the outside of the flywheel. Usually they're always rust colored. A little bit of a oil leak over here. Could have been from just overfilling the dipstick and have it run down the side, but the dipstick wasn't really all that dirty. So I think it was actually this that was leaking. There's actually oil all the way up to here, which it can soak up a little bit. If there's enough dirt, it'll actually soak up through the dirt. It kind of stopped here. So I know the governor's not leaking, but I noticed when I had pulled this out that there's a little bit of corrosion in there. A little bit of a white color. So I think the aluminum was corroding a little bit from moisture. So I'm going to put a little bit of a bead of Permatex on the top ring to help seal this up. Not on the threads, because if I put it on the threads it'll actually get stuck in there. I gotta be able to remove that in the future. And my gasket kit didn't come with the right one. It came with the newer style for like the cable dipsticks. This has the flat blade, so that won't work for me. So let me Permatex that before I stick it in, and I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, we'll see if that won't focus in on it. So yeah, that's where I put the RTV, was just on the top ring of that. I can stick that in. Cleaned all the oil off the top of that. Matter of fact, before I stick that in, I should hit that with some cleaner. I'm going to clean this up off with some solvent. I'm going to need 2 hands to do that, and I'll get you back on. Okay, we'll throw this in now. It's all cleaned off. These things can be a little bit tricky, especially when they want to cross thread and they don't want to go in nice and straight. Oops, sorry. As you can see, well, at least I think you can see, Permatex is squishing out, which is what I was hoping for. So that should be good. And I'll continue cleaning on all the stuff. I gotta find the torque specs. I'm waiting on a repair manual in order to torque this down correctly. Clean off all the gaskets. I haven't done that side yet. That's still a mess. I knocked off all the loose stuff down here. Haven't gotten to the seal yet. Just cleaning it up. This side of the engine still seems pretty clean. Nothing to really worry about. But there's no oil on this side except for that shaft. So I'm getting there. And another thing I forgot to mention is the valve spec is between 4 and 6 thousandths. I adjusted these to 5 right in the middle. Okay. So I'll turn you guys back on as I continue. Now, got the seal in, both sides. Starting to clean it all up. And here's a little bit of a tricky spot. These are all about the same size, but this piece underlaps underneath the choke support, and this has a longer bolt in it than the others. So most of the bolts are shorter. That one for right here is longer. So just thought I'd let you know. Okay. There. Got a torque spec for you guys. About 25 inch-pounds up here. 140 inch-pounds on these. And there's a nice zip tie for the wiring there that holds the kill wire, the fuel shut-off solenoid wire, and the spark plug wire. Keep them from shaking around. Okay. Getting there, almost done. Okay, another tip. Had to loosen up these 6 bolts. So this one panel in here would sit down a little bit, as well as the panel over here. And then I could slide the cover on. So all the bolts are lining up nice. So I'll have to tighten these back up now. Matter of fact, I think I'll put the bolts in first. Then I'll tighten these up, that way everything is shaped correctly. So there's another tip for you. Okay, got it all back together and cleaned up. I had almost an entire dustpan full of dirt that came off of this thing. Replaced a bunch of gaskets on it. I replaced the crankshaft seals, the PTO side and the flywheel side. Replaced the valve cover and valve cover stud gaskets. So the valve cover gaskets, and these are the studs here. Replaced the dipstick cap gasket. Permatexed the dipstick tube bushing that goes into the block. Got a new gasket for the carburetor. Got some new exhaust gaskets for when we put the exhaust back on. And after I'd cleaned off the dirt, I had used some solvent on here trying to make sure it's not sticky so the dirt doesn't stick to it again. And next thing that'll be on the list of things to do on here is figure out something to do with the oil cooling lines here, so it's easier to take on and off the tractor. I'll talk to Summit on that. So, no, there wasn't a whole lot of information in the videos, but I hope you found it informative. If you did enjoy the videos, make sure you give me a thumbs up, and have a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye.